Good evening, Twitter. It's your boy Waemid IV. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to put a remote in a ceiling fan. The good news is this works with pretty much any ceiling fan that's not over 100 years old and has a downrod. Remotes do not work on flush-mounted ceiling fans, so if your ceiling fan is close to the ceiling, there's probably not enough room in it for the receiver. But for this particular fan, as you can see, it's on a downrod, and we're going to make this functional with a remote so you can lazily sit in your chair and operate all the speeds of the fan and the light with the touch of a button on a remote instead of having to get all the way up here and reach for these pull chains. So in order to do that, all we're going to need are these basic tools over here. We're going to need a flathead Phillips screwdriver, of course the remote itself, they sell these at Walmart, and then a 9-volt battery because the remote does not come with a battery as usual. So as always, the first step with working with anything electrical is to turn off the power at the breaker. Our main area of operation is going to be inside this cap up here. So you don't have to take the fan down or anything. All we got to do is take out the 4 screws holding this cap in. I'm also going to take off one of the blades just so I have easier access to it, but if you can reach it without taking off the blades, you don't need to. So as you'll see here in a moment, it turns out this fan does not have the usual kind of bracket where the downrod hangs by a hook. Instead, the weight of the fan is resting on the white cover that I'm unscrewing here. So I learned a lesson in that whenever you remove the bracket cover, you should support the weight of the fan with your other hand in case it doesn't have the standard, pretty much universal bracket that I'm used to. Because if the screws on the other side would have broke through the metal, the whole fan would have just fallen and shattered. Probably broke it for good. So we ended up just buying a new bracket. This is the kind of bracket you'll see in pretty much any fan. Now, a remote does not work with the old style bracket that was in there before, so to make this fan safer and usable with a remote, I ended up just going to Lowe's and buying a new ceiling fan bracket. They're universal, they work with pretty much any fan. It was $5. So if your fan does not have the kind of bracket that is seen here, you will have to buy one, but the good news is they're cheap. Anyway, once we got that roadblock taken care of, this is what you should be looking at. Separate the wires that come from the ceiling from the wires that come from the fan. So as you can see here, the wires on the receiver are labeled, so it makes it pretty easy to figure out which ones go where. This black wire without the frayed end is just the antenna for the remote, so you don't have to worry about that. One last thing to make sure of before putting this thing in the fan is that the switches on this match the same configuration as the switches on the remote. It doesn't matter which combination you have them set to, just make sure they're the same. This enables you to have multiple ceiling fan remotes in the house by operating them on different frequencies so they don't interfere with each other. If you've only got one remote in the house, they can all be towards one side. If you've got multiple remotes, just make sure this configuration is different from any other remotes in the house so that they don't interfere with each other. And may as well put in the battery. Back up at the ceiling, just shove the receiver into this little slot in the bracket. Should sit right above the downrod, right in between the two sides of the bracket. And connect your wires. They're all labeled, so it should be pretty easy. You can even follow the instructions that undoubtedly came with your remote. Just to clarify, black goes to black, white to white, blue to blue, green to copper, and well, that's pretty much it. It may seem like there's a lot of wires, and well, there is, but just match up the colors and you should be good. Next, we're going to tactically slide up the bracket cover and screw it back into place. This may look easy, but with all those new wires and there's less space in there, it can be kind of hard, but make sure you don't crush any wires and be careful as you're maneuvering it back into place. We're ready for a test.